Hi, I'm Dorian from Dorian Think to Success. Last week I released a video trying to explain what the DVSA are doing in the background to reduce the driving test waiting times. And in that video, which I will leave a link in the description below, I mentioned about them trying to raise the standards for driving instructors. Basically calling instructors back early for a standards check. Instructors who's got low pass rates, that's just the bottom line. There's no point sugarcoating it. If instructors got a bad pass rate or low pass rate, they're going to call them back early. And I did say that's going to cause a problem. They have now released official guidelines. So basically changes to the ADI standards check test, new guidance published. So we've now got this in writing. It's now official. And this is what's going to happen. So what I'm going to do is try to explain what's happening and how it's going to affect learner drivers, because it is going to affect learner drivers. It's going to affect instructors as well. So basically, what it is, they got indicators. They got 4 indicators which have trigger points. And as instructors, if we trigger 3 of the 4 within a 12-month period, they are going to call us for a standards check. That's the bottom line. So let me just quickly explain what a standard check is. Every instructor has to take a standards check. It's normally one every 4 years, basically. Our green badge that's in the window lasts for 4 years, and you should have at least a standard check for every badge that you have. So the examiner sits in the back of the car on a lesson, watches you give it, and you've got to reach certain criteria for that. And at the end of it, he will pass you or fail you on it. If you fail, you have to go away. Well, you should go away, get more training, and then come back for another standards check. And if you don't meet the requirement, you get a third attempt. On the third attempt, you get struck off. So basically, off the register, you can't teach. You've lost your job. That's the way it works. This standards check is basically, my understanding anyway of it before all of this, was we as instructors reach a standard satisfactory to teach. So if a pupil left an instructor, went to another instructor for whatever reason, the standard is going to be the same. That's the bottom line. A driving test is to assess whether a pupil can drive or not. Now, most instructors will take, and I say most, instructors will take a pupil to a driving test because they believe that pupil will pass. Not all pupils pass, even though we believe that, because things happen. They mess up. A situation arose that we didn't sort of deal with it on the day of a driving lesson, because we can't cater for every scenario. There's pressures, whatever it happens to be, a pupil messes up. Now, I can't see or understand why, if a pupil messes up on the driving test, why we as instructors are going to be punished. As I said, and the standards check is to make sure we all are teaching to the same standard. A driving test is to make sure the pupil is assessed and can drive competently on their own. It's 2 different tests. But if they fail it, we are going to be partly held responsible for that. So let me go through the trigger points, and I'll tell you why this is going to be an issue. So when the indicators will trigger a standards check. So each of the 4 indicators has a trigger point. So average number of driving tests average faults per test is 5 or greater. Average number of serious faults per test, 0.5 or greater. How they got 0.5? I can't work that out. Anyway, percentage of driving tests where driving examiners had to take physical action 10% or higher, and driving test pass rate 55% or lower. So these are the trigger points. So if you reach the trigger point for 3 or more of the indicators, DVSA will write to you and ask you to book a standards check. So basically, if you trigger 3 of the above, you're going to be asked for a standards check. You're going to come back within 12 months. Right, so example 1, standards check is not triggered. So you took your pupils for 30 tests throughout the 12 months, and this happened. Across all 30 tests, your pupils made a combined total of 130 driving faults. This is an average of 4.83. Across all 30 tests, your pupils made a combined total of 14 serious driving faults. This is an average of 0.47 per test. Across all 30 tests, driving examiners had to take physical action in 5 tests. This is 16.67 of tests. In total, 18 of your 30 tests were passes and 12 were fail. This is a pass rate of 60%. You will not need to take a standard check because only one of the 4 triggers driving examiners taking physical action has been met. So only one was triggered. So no need for a standard check. Right, so example 2, standard check is triggered. Right, you took your pupils for 20 tests throughout the last 12 months. Across all 20 tests, your pupils made a combined total of 120 faults. This is an average of 6 per test. So 6 per test, minor faults basically. Across 20 tests, your pupils made a combined total of 12 serious driving faults, which is an average of 0.6 per test. Across all 20 tests, driving examiners had to take physical action in 4 tests. This is 20% of tests. And in total, 8 of your 20 tests were passes, 12 were fails. This is a pass rate of 40%. You will need to take a standard check because all 4 of the triggers have been met. Now, the problem is this: if an instructor knows he's about to trigger the 3rd one in a 12-month period, will he take any more pupils to test? No, he won't. Which means that waiting time is going to get longer anyway. At some point, that pupil's got to take a test. The problem with that as well, which people don't realise, is that you can't get a test now anyway. It's about 4 or 5 months at the end of the year. And there's no test for January either. So it's about 5-6 months waiting time at this point in time if you can get a test date. Now, if you're in the last 6 months of your theory test, you're going to have to reset your theory test. What I've realised as well, the DVSA have changed the theory test centres. They are moving them to bigger premises so they can cater for more theory test dates. Our local test centre at Sidcup is going to move on the 6th of September to a bigger premises where they can cater for more theory tests. Now ask yourself why. Because theory tests are going to run out while this is happening. Instructors aren't going to be willing to take pupils if it's about to trigger a 3rd trigger point, because they're going to be asked for a standards check. It's hard enough. I get nervous doing a standard check. Mine's one every 4 years. I get nervous. Do I want to be doing one every 12 months? No, I don't. Lucky enough, my standard's high enough. I don't come close to triggering those points anyway. But that's me. This doesn't mean say other instructors out there are on my level. There's going to be some who are very close to that. But we all, as instructors, we have runs of failures. We have runs of passes. That's just the way it is. Pupils mess up. It's not the instructor's fault if a pupil messes up. Sometimes the pupil's just under pressure. They panic. They stress. That's just the way it is. Should we be penalised for this? The other thing I want to mention is this. In the past, I've had check tests and the examiner has pulled me up and said my standard is too high for the learner. Part 2 standard was his words. Now let me just explain. There's 3 tests we have to take as instructors to qualify as an instructor. The first one's the theory test. The second one is a driving test, which is what we call part 2. That's an hour's driving and we're allowed 6 minors. And the third one's instructional ability. And like I said, the examiner has said to me, my standard is way too high because I'm trying to get my people to part 2 standard. Now I'm going to put my my last check test on screen. And if you look in the comments below, it says my driving was too slick. I took a pupil to that check test who couldn't drive themselves to the nursery route. So I'd done a demonstration drive as part of a lesson. And then when we got to the nursery route, we swapped seats and then we conducted the lesson. Now you can see in the comments, my driving is too slick, which means it's too high a standard. Forward 3 years, they're now saying my standard needs to be that because my pupils can't get, let me just go back to the trigger points. I can't get more than 5, average more than 5 faults per test. What worries me as well, are they going to change the driving test? Because the driving test at this point in time is 15 minors and you can still pass. 15 minors, no S's or D's. Now what's the point in having 15 if we can't average more than 5 per driving test? Just have a think about that. I know instructors already taking their badges out the car, and the conversation we had when we was allowed in the waiting rooms, My people don't stand a chance of passing. I know instructors bring pupils to test who they don't believe are going to pass. That's their decision, that's their choice. But they take their badges out so it's not recorded. But the honest instructors, if you like, who don't do this, aren't going to be willing to take pupils if it's about to trigger a third trigger point where they're going to have to be called for a check test in 12 months. It's unfair. It's possible instructor, our badges have a lifespan of 4 years. An instructor could be taking 4 check tests in 4 years. To me, that's totally unfair and unreasonable. But that's what the DVSA have brought forward. They've brought it in. There's nowhere for instructors to go. I can just see this going to be a problem. The waiting time for driving tests is long at the moment. I can see it getting longer. There's pupils who can't get driving lessons at this point in time because all instructors are fully booked up. If you're going to take instructors off the register because they're not reaching the standards, that's going to make it a bigger backlog. And also, if you're asking instructors to come for check tests within 12 months because of your trigger points, that's going to be a problem as well. But like I said, that's what the DVSA have brought in. You let me know what you think about it in the comments. I don't agree with it. But as an instructor, the DVSA I have to go by if I want to remain on their register. So I hope it's not good news. Let me know what you think about all of this and your views in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video.